the symptoms are similar to the COVID-19 symptoms.
Oh no. Oh no. So are you able to lay low then and not be out in public?
Not much. It is
Okay.
payroll time, so definitely I have to go to work.
Okay.
But like I'm trying to wear mask and
Right.
keep a distance.
Okay.
But the headache since last Saturday is not going away.
Oh, I'm so sorry
Yeah,
to hear that.
it's okay. It's okay. Thank you, Professor.
I am good. I'm actually in Chicago. I was in Chicago for the latter part of the week, and
Mhm.
I go back to Florida tomorrow. So I've had a um good time here in the Windy City.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Yes, and I'm excited about the work we're going to start. I know it's going to cause a little bit of panic for some of you, but I think that you'll enjoy it. So that's always good.
I enjoyed reading this chapter. To be honest, it's really nice.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
because I have faced most of it at my work,
Okay.
and I
That's
suffered also from it. Okay,
well,
we
oh, go ahead.
now I was going to say we can wait for the others.
Yes. I'm just,
Okay,
I'm working on getting what I can set up for the room set up so that it won't delay us.
that's good.
Um,
That's good.
with
Okay, I
what
will let you focus.
No, you can talk to me while I'm doing this. That's no problem.
You
Um,
didn't share the picture of Bill.
oh, let me see if I have one on my computer that I can share.
It's okay. It's okay. I
I,
just enjoy seeing little babies
yeah,
before they grow up and become devils.
yes, she had her pictures done with her family last week.
Mhm.
And so I think I'll be able to share one of those. Her newborn pictures, she had a traumatic delivery.
Oh,
Her shoulders were stuck. And
ouch.
so um, she was very purple for quite a while and then had some discoloration and bruises
Uh-huh.
right when she was born. Yeah, it was pretty traumatic for her. She was so comfortable in the womb and did
Of
not
course, she
want,
didn't like going out.
yes, she didn't want to come out. So,
She knew what she will face.
yes, yes, yes. Um,
With her
so,
grandmother as a professor, yeah, she will suffer.
yeah, she's like, no, I'm okay here. But I will be able to share, I think we'll have the pictures from the photographer before next week's session. So I'll be able to
No
share
issues.
for sure then.
No issues.
Um,
I'm just happy she's safe and the mother is safe.
oh, me
And the
too.
grandmother is happy.
Yes, I'm very happy. It couldn't have gone the expertise that was there and how they handled everything was incredible. It was really interesting to experience because you go from that ideal. I was supposed to cut her umbilical cord and be the first one to like hold her and carry her over to the nurse's station. And um, when you have it not go the way that it's expected, then that changes. And so we went from having, I think, 5 of us in the room for the delivery with this very quiet, calm atmosphere to there being more than 20 people in the room and lots
Oh,
of equipment and carts and everything. So,
that's a lot.
yeah, it was a lot. I was able to cut the umbilical cord on her sister when she was born, but given the circumstances for Blakelyn, I wasn't able to do that. But I feel very blessed to have been there in the room and be the first person to see her,
Of course.
besides the doctor. And so, like, yeah, there's still very, very special elements to that. So,
That's good to hear.
Yes, yes. I am going to see, it looks like we still have quite a few people to come in. We still have about 5 more minutes before we start. Let
Hey
me,
all, how are you?
Okay, you
hello.
take on Nuran. I'll go grab a tissue.
I hope you are all well, guys.
You too. Ahmed was telling me has not been feeling well.
Actually, all of us will not weren't feeling well the past week. It was so loaded with midterms, assignments, and
Mm.
too much stuff to think about. Actually,
Oh, wow. It's over. It can become overwhelming this time of year for sure.
yes, yes. But what
Yes.
I loved about the conversation you were taking currently,
Yes.
I love really, Professor, the way you were excited about the having a newborn baby in the house. Actually, it is. I wish. I wish here people feel that much excitement. Most probably, they feel afraid. Oh wow, there is a newborn in here. Makes them afraid, actually.
Well, it's funny because from the moment she was born, she looked just like her mom when she was a baby. So
Wow.
that brought a lot of memories back. And then it's funny because a friend put a picture of Blakelyn side by side with her sister Eiley when they were both born, and they looked exactly the same in the picture. But when I saw her when she was born and she took her first breath, she didn't look anything like her sister to me. So it's like really interesting how the characteristics form and how like I have that memory of when Olivia was born, but of course her friend that did the side by side pictures didn't. Um, so it's really interesting to see um, how they form their characteristics, like their parents, and then their own individualism too, right?
Yes, yes, actually.
Yes. Yes. So lots going on. It's like never a dull moment with an infant and a 3-year-old in the house. My children are like her mom is 29 and her uncle is 20 gonna be 26 in August. So my children are adult children, we call them in America. So having a 3-year-old has been a blast, but now having a newborn is like, wow, really incredible.
Yes, yes. Very fascinating.
Yes. Yeah. So how is everybody else doing? I see Mansoor has joined us. Ko is with us. Rodas just joined in.
Hello, Professor.
Hello, how are you? How was your week?
I'm doing good, I guess.
Mm. What's behind the I guess?
Yeah, I think like what Noran said,
Yeah.
last week was really a hectic week, I would say. Last week, my additional works at my organization. So yeah, I
Okay.
guess I'm still doing good, I guess. That's
Yes.
that's the meaning of I guess.
Yes. Yes. Oh, and I did want to note, let me look and see really quick. I had a message from let me find it. I guess it doesn't really matter who the message was from, but something that I wanted to note for you guys was I understand there was some issues with some changes being made in the Moodle, and our discussion got closed for a minute and then reopened, which I really appreciate Student Affairs doing that in a timely manner. Um, but something to note that I wasn't aware of was when I go into my Moodle and I set the due dates and the times, I know that it sets for my time zone. And I know that I do tell you that it's set for my time zone, which is Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time here in the US, the same time as the university is in Washington, DC. But for some of you, there's a setting that it will show the due dates or the opening of the materials according to your own time zones. So I just want you to be cautious of that and always err on the side of communication, because I know that it did put one of your colleagues in an interesting situation. They were going in to do their reply and it was already closed. And it was because of how it was set in their system. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. You might already be aware of that, but given that's our learning management platform, I want to make sure that anytime something like that comes up, that's dealt with between an individual student and myself, that I let you know when we come together. So that's just information for you to have. You might have already known, but we will make sure that we can be accommodating without taking advantage, because I do always take into consideration the agreements that we have when we have different assignments and the due dates are set. And when, like I've mentioned before, we can have flexibility when we're working towards it and following the requirements. But if we're just showing up at the last minute expecting to participate, I don't think that's fair to the rest of you as professionals and as peers and as colleagues. So I quite often, like I said, always err on the side of the student, but that depends on the student's professionalism and the way that they carry themselves with the course content and engagements and learning. Fair enough?
Yes, Professor.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so hello, Aaliyah. I'm glad that you're good. And we look forward to having you be with us here today. I'm going to look. It is 10:03. We don't have everyone here in the meeting, but those of you who are here and ready to start on time, it's important for us to do so. So let me go ahead and I'm going to set my coffee aside and turn my camera on and say greetings, everyone. I'm very excited about today. It's going to be a little bit different than what we have usually done, because we're going to start coordinating for assignment 2 today. And it's a big one, but I think once you have a chance to cognitively digest it all, you're going to enjoy it. So let me share my screen. And then that is not what I want to share. I want to share this document. And then I will speak to this. And if you can't see something for some reason or need me to, let me make the text a little larger. So I did have a chance to speak with student services and coordinate when our final exam will be. And it kind of changed what we're doing over these next few weeks, like how we're doing it. The final exam that I will still get confirmation from the university on, but what they offered for the date for our final exam would be Monday, August 22nd. And it will be during the same time frame of our class session. So it will be from 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time to 12:30. So whatever that translates for your time zone. But if you want to make a note, August 22nd will be our final exam for this course. And it will be a combination of written and multiple choice true and false. And what will happen is I will open this session and take attendance, and over that 2.5 hour period of time, you'll be able to complete your assessment. And then the grades will be received shortly after. So given that that is the 22nd, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be the 22nd or the 29th, it caused me to kind of back up with our content and look at this second assignment without it becoming too overwhelming. So what I wanted to do is introduce to you how we're going to organize the remaining chapters and how that is going to be blended into your assignment number 2, which is going to be an experience-based assignment that will occur in teams. And I know that this time of year is very busy for all of you with your midterms and with getting ready for the end of the year, never mind life itself and work-family balance and trying to stay in good health. So I want to first explain how we're going to organize things. The experience-based learning is where you are going to, for this course, essentially be in a simulation for the next 3 weeks, where we are going to be an organization. We are an organization, actually. But the difference is I will take on the role of CEO of the organization, and you all will have a manager from within the student population, an assistant manager, and associates. And so the objectives for this, which is our second assignment, is that you will be introduced to organizing yourself and myself into a organization, and it will include involvement, training, orientation, and education. So the first objective, involvement, is that we are going to, the goal is to engage with enthusiasm and learning. And training is for you to acquire some management skills, whether regardless of your role as a manager, an assistant manager, or a associate, you will acquire management skills for sure. Orientation is we're going to learn to accomplish objectives in a complex organization. And you're going to be the ones designing and developing and delivering those objectives through the content of the course. And education is articulating concepts and theories that are essential to organizational behavior. So from the 1st of August through the 15th of August, our course is going to be a complex organization. And for these 3 weeks, like I said, I will be the CEO of the class. And instead of me teaching it in regards to how I've been teaching it so far over these past weeks, is that we'll be using the class itself as our case, as our organization. And we're going to be learning from the experience that we're going to engage in. And so you as the students of OBS or the scholars of OBS will be the managers, the assistant managers, and the associates within 3 different departments. We will have a responsibility department, a doing department, and a understanding department. And I'm going to break that information up for you. But this week, before I get questions from you all, this week, meaning today's session, we are going to really be focusing on staffing, like our group assignments. looking at the distinctive job descriptions and objectives, and delegation of the responsibilities, and then really hitting home the fact that you are now the managers of the functions of our organization, and each role will participate in some capacity as being the teachers, the coaches, or exercising authority, as you would in a complex organization. So today, we are dedicating our time to delegating roles and responsibilities within departments. We're going to create our team structures. So once we have those roles and responsibilities for the departments laid out, you'll have time to meet in those departments as a team and decide what your norms are going to be, what your understandings of the work is, etc. And then we're also going to begin drafting out initial assignments that will be due to me by Friday. And that's going to be negotiable because you're the managers, but I will explain why I wanted it to be by Friday and what that will look like. So before I go into the content that we're going to cover, do you have any questions about what I just shared or what you see on the screen?
Professor, the remaining chapters will be covered as well?
We
Like
will.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14?
Yes, I'm going to go into that next. Thank you for asking that.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to put the link to this document in the chat box so that if you want to open it yourself, you're welcome to do that. Let me send it now. Okay. Okay. If there aren't any other questions, then I'm going to go into, I believe it was just Ahmed that asked about the content being covered. So I know that you came today with chapter 9 ready, but we're going to incorporate chapter 9 into the 1st of August. And let me explain what I've done here with the content. You can see that chapter 11 is actually on the 15th of August, and that's because I believe when going through the content of these chapters, there's a relationship definitely between chapter 9 and chapter 10 that's very clear. And there's a relationship between chapter 12 and chapter 13 that's very clear. And then the same stands for chapter 11, chapter 14. And those chapters also are perfect chapters for you to engage in this experience-based learning, because it gives you firsthand experience through the way we're engaging for assignment 2 to live out the content of these chapters. So you'll have not only textbook experience with it, you'll have real life experience with it that you can compare and contrast to your work environments. So I'm not sure who highlighted everything, but if you can make sure you don't delete, obviously I have, thank you. Obviously I have a full copy of this document in case something happens, because I did give everyone editing options because of the content that is below. But just so that you know, because I think this is important, I already have the presentation deck and lecture, as well as the closed caption, the audio file, and the PDF of the PowerPoint completed for August 1st. So chapter 9, power in the workplace, and chapter 10, conflict in the workplace, are located now in one folder for you. And same stands for the chapter 12 content contingencies of organizational design, and Chapter 13, organizational culture and socialization. I will have the leadership chapters, Chapter 11 and Chapter 14, completed within the next 48 hours. And so that blue link for the first gives you access to the folder. And then you just open up. So depending on what you decide as an organization for the structures that you want to use for learning the material, what has been historically done in the last sessions is available for you to use, but it's not required for you to use it in the same way that I have been designing it. So let me go into that information now. So content to be covered will be broken up in regards to the 1st of August will be the content for power and conflict in the workplace. The 8th of August will be contingencies of organizational design, as well as organizational culture and socialization. And then the 15th of August will be leadership and leading and managing change. Something important to note for the final exam is everything up until this point that we have covered will be incorporated into a written assessment for your final. What you see on the screen, chapters 9 through chapter 14, will be the multiple choice true and false types of questions on the final exam. Okay. So that's the content that we're going to cover. And so we have department assignments that are going to be due to me by Friday. But before we go through those, I want to let you know what each department is. So I'm going to scroll ahead and I ask you if you're in the document, which you're absolutely welcome to come into the document. I ask you to come down to job descriptions because I don't want you to be overwhelmed. I want you to be able to understand what each department is going to consist of, and then who is going to be in those departments. And then I'm going to give you time to meet in those departments and do that organizational piece first, and then we'll come back together with any questions that you all may have, and then you'll have more time to meet. And the way this is designed is to give you locus of control, and also there's no one that's going to be just sitting back. Everyone's going to have different responsibilities, and the understanding department, when I get to that, it will help you see what the grading will look like potentially for this experiment based assignment. So we have the responsibility department. This is one of 3 departments. And an example of what this department will be doing or delegating over the next few weeks is that they will be responsible for whatever presentation materials will happen during the class session. They can create ad hoc teams, so they can pull people from other departments if they need to. And they will approach individuals outside of class and get them to do things a little differently. And I do not have a vision of what that looks like. I just want you to know that you might receive a WhatsApp message from a colleague or a email from a colleague, and you would respond and interact with that just as if I was the person sending it. And you're also going to develop some kind of, or you may develop like self-test questionnaires or short simulations, whatever your mode of learning that you want to relate those chapter contents through, that's up to you. That's your responsibility. So in your department, specifically, You will set the agenda for the class session for August 1st. You will coordinate the content delivery, any presentations, any learning engagements related to those chapters. You'll develop a planning strategy with behaviorally stated goals. So you have the objectives that are in the chapters. And so synthesizing that into what the session will look like will be a part of what you'll focus on. And you're going to create and deliver related assessments with the understanding department. Hold on, we have somebody waiting in the lobby. Nope, we don't. Okay, sorry, I thought there was someone in the lobby. Okay, so that's an example for the responsibility department. There's going to be some things that people who are in that department are going to want to avoid. Sitting back and letting others do the work. So that causes important parts of the organization to not function as it should. And failure to accomplish anything as a team because you only know your part. Or, for example, as a planner, you might lack motivation, or as a formal organizer, you might lack communicating. This is your opportunity to play those things out. We did the rumble with our values and our behaviors associated with those values last week intentionally. That's going to be important for how you interact with each other, how you get each other to do what you need, the support and the resources and the collaboration to do. This is going to be real life for you all. And what's as important to the outcomes is that coordination and collaboration that takes place amongst your department or across departments in order for the experiences to be had at each session to be deemed successful. So what I mean by that is, yes, if you're on the responsibility department and you have the task of creating the agenda and the content delivery that goes along with that, it does not mean that your manager is going to do all the work and the rest of the team is going to show up. What is as important to the learning is the manager's ability to delegate, the assistant manager's ability to play that role of mediator and connecting the manager's vision with the associates. And the associates are going to need to come through because it's not a, when you work in a real business, the manager is not the person that does all the work. The team and the way they're able to come together is really essential. So that asterisk is pretty much what I just said. When you have disorder, it still creates opportunities for learning, and theories and concepts of management and organizational behavior still apply. So you will learn about setting and reaching objectives, decision-making, group dynamics, effective delegation, how to recover from failure, because we're going to make mistakes, your listening skills, listening behaviors, effective feedback in real time and in a meaningful and purposeful way, and above all, continuing the learning experience of the chapter contents. So that is the responsibility department. And the organizational chart for who will be in the responsibility department will include, as a manager, Noran, and team members who Noran will meet with in a little bit and delegate positions for, and that will be in whatever style and manner she decides. She will meet with Chan, with Abdusamid, with Wellington, and Ahmed A. and determine who will be her assistant manager and who will be the associates. And once that is decided, it will be typed into the document. And then that department will begin under Noran's leadership going through these specific responsibilities and collecting questions or confirmations of exactly what's going to happen from as far as what we know so far. So that's the responsibility department. I'm not going to stop right now because there's 3 departments and there's tasks for different departments. And I think by not getting questions from Noran and her team right now, some questions will automatically be answered as I go through the descriptions of the other departments. So I'm going to move into the doing department. The doing department, to reach their objectives, what they will be doing is they'll be creating the virtual warehouse for easy access to materials that are developed by the responsibility department. And all materials also have to be provided. So if this is like, say you decide you're using the Google Drive, and I just need to have that link because I will transfer everything to the Moodle. I realize that accessibility as far as editing and whatnot for the Moodle isn't ideal for you all. So any management system, if you decide to use Teams, if you decide to use something else, that information, I just need to have it available to me, just like you'll make it available to your colleagues so that I can transfer the materials over to the Moodle. And then this doing department will also create clear communication pathways between and amongst all the departments. And so specifically what that can look like, and it's not limited to this, but they'll manage any individual memos or emails for use of appropriate media or systems theory or assertiveness. So they will look at the effectiveness of the learning cycle and bring department reps together for coordination for the purpose of seamless execution. So for example, I said department reps because it could be, but it doesn't have to be the managers that come together for this purpose. It could be someone delegated from the associates or the assistant manager. That's entirely up to each department manager, who will meet with someone from the doing department in regards to how that content will play out in the learning cycle. And they will also moderate class meetings through time allotments and offer considerations for behavior modifications. So what I mean by that is the responsibility team is creating the agenda, but the doing department will make sure that if something falls short and there's like that first session on August 1st, there's not enough time, or there is too much time. Any kind of feedback or insights that can be provided to the responsibility department in a we want everyone to be successful approach will be really important. So for example, I've been front loading the content with you all so that you can either experience the presentation deck and lecture before you come, or listen to the audio, or read the closed caption, or do all 3, whatever your learning style is. And then that might not work for you as a learner, and you might feel more comfortable sharing with the planning department if they decide to continue that, giving some insights as to how that might work better for you or whatnot. So when I talk about considerations for behavior modifications, that's like, oh, this was an opportunity where we could have engaged, or we were engaging here and maybe it would have worked better from the doing department standpoint to have more of something else occur. So things that what this department wants to avoid is, again, sitting back and waiting for the other departments to reach out to them. Failing to accomplish anything as a team because they disregard the importance of and value of following up. For example, a part of the doing department is that if they lack the initiative to design and develop templates and resources to make the other department work less of a heavy lift, that would be a missed opportunity. So Naran's department in the responsibility department, they may ask for a PowerPoint template or an agenda template to use, and the doing department would create that for them. And it would require conversation around and potentially additional drafts in order for the collaboration to be successful. And then also failing to set up communication pathways and protocols that allow for reviewing communication histories or a lack of ease of access. There are people in this course who still have not accessed the Moodle. And that might be because they're accessing the information from the Google Drive. But the doing department has a real opportunity here to set protocols and say, we will use WhatsApp and we will expect a response within whatever amount of time, or email will be used for this, or that. And if you don't receive an email, it's your responsibility to reach out to the someone in the doing department or whatnot. So it's really important to set up those protocols here as a part of a successful establishment, an organization. And so that's something that the doing department would be able to contribute so that our organization can have a good experience. The people in our organization can have a good experience. And these are examples of specific responsibilities. When you're in your groups, in your teams, in your departments, you may see a direct correlation to another responsibility, or you might word a responsibility differently. And that's what we're going to dedicate time to today, is for us to be able to have those conversations so that you can leave here ready to do your initial assignment and ready to be a successful organization in your department's contributions. So the organizational chart for the doing department is the manager is going to be Rhodas, and her team members will be Sarah W., Winnie, Co, and Syed. And let me look real quick. Okay, Syed has yet to come to a class session. So that does not mean that he's off the hook, but I just want your department to be aware of that when you're structuring responsibilities within your organizational chart. We're going to move into the understanding department. I know this is a lot of information to take in. But like I said, I want to go through all three departments and then have a conversation with you before you go into breakout rooms with your department, so that we have the full picture of each department as we know it so far. So for your understanding department, we have course measurements, delegation, and rank ordering are components for this department. So this department will be responsible for the design of the grading system for this portion of the course. So we want it to empower participants not only to measure, but also to motivate through the three distinctive features. So course measurement We'll be measuring each person's performance and learning, and each person will receive feedback on things like participation, reading, effort, written memos, or conceptual understanding. And there will be opportunity for the understanding department to design a grading system that is both globally robust and learner-centered versus meticulously accurate. So I'm not asking you to go out and do a full criterion reference study on your course measurements. You're only going to have the points delegated for assignment 2, which is 50 points, and then an additional 30 points, which are the 10-point allotment for either a quiz or assignment or both for August 1st, August 8th, and August 15th. And that's written here in just a minute, but there's going to be 3 components to this. It's going to be looking at how the responsibility department is coordinating content and having conversations with them about point allotments for different components of these next 3 weeks. It's also going to be looking at how this is going to relate for a final grade on this project, not final grades, but giving feedback so that people have the opportunity to grow over these next few weeks. And then the rank ordering. This helps us avoid any attempts to fudge the system, and it forces you to collect information throughout these 3 weeks that will offer a visual of the levels of role interactions that everyone takes. So when I say rank ordering, I'm not saying there's going to be one person that's at the top of the list and one person at the bottom of the list. Rank ordering can take place by having different levels. So in the workplace, your managers have a different evaluation than your assistant managers do, than your associate managers do. So the understanding department, if they take this complex organization seriously, can just develop a survey evaluation or a written evaluation component for each person in the course, and then rank order it according to your allotment. It doesn't mean that people that are in a particular zone are going to have more points allotted than people who are in a different zone. The rank ordering is about growth, and I can have a conversation with the understanding department once they have a chance to talk with amongst themselves about what that could potentially look like. So specific responsibilities within this department, the understanding department, is that every week, or at a minimum of every week, they'll be recording and reporting and encouraging attendance by applying or describing behavior motivation. They'll be coordinating with the responsibility department on how the following points will be allotted within the organization's grade book or evaluation book. And what we have to work with is assignment number 2 has 50 points, and there are 3 weeks of quizzes or assignments, which equate to 10 points each for a total of 30. So over these next 3 weeks, the seriousness that you take in being a part of this organization in these departments will dictate the allotment for 80 points total. This department will manage those entries. They'll keep a visible spreadsheet so that everyone can stay current. And I think it's really important that that's visible, just like the grading system in the Moodle is visible. because there can be discrepancies and disagreements, and having professional conversations around that is important while we're going through the course, rather than waiting until the end of the course when it's too late. So it's going to be really important that this department keeps that entry visible, and that I have access as well as all of your colleagues in the course. And then providing and recording feedback. If you're not sure what that's going to look like or what that could look like, we already covered a whole section on feedback in our chapter readings. And we engaged in feedback here in the course. So it's up to your department to decide, but it is really important that while we're going through this, everyone is receiving feedback from this department. And I want to look at the things to avoid in this group, because what's going to be important is that you don't distort the results based on friendship, culture, disorganization, and potentially cheating. Crisis, failures, and conflicts affect participation one way or the other. So what I mean by that is we want to make sure that our point allotment is fair, that everyone has the opportunity to receive the full 80 points, and that feedback is specific and offers opportunity for growth in how we approach this. We also want to make sure that this department stays organized, so that relationship between the responsibility department and the doing department will hold this department accountable, but this department and the doing department will hold the responsibility department accountable, and then the responsibility and understanding department will hold the doing department accountable. And it's designed that way intentionally because it's going to be important for you to work successfully within your department, but the cross communication is essential. And you're going to be learning in some of the chapter content why I'm designing this the way I'm designing it. And I'm sure that you'll get a little chuckle when you come across it. So the people who will be in the understanding department, the manager is Mansoor, and Mansoor will meet with Amir, Olia, Judalyn, and Ahmed EI to delegate that assistant manager role and associates role. And so that's the information about each department so far. I'm going to scroll up kind of slowly so that I don't give you motion sickness. And this is a great time to ask questions.
May I start with a question, please?
Absolutely.
Actually, as a recap of what I understood, that responsibility department will be the main department for preparing the session agenda, content, and this stuff. Then the doing department will be responsible for the communication of what we are going to produce to distribute between the teams. Then the understanding department will take the evaluation, measurement, and the quality part, in which he will have feedback about what we are going to make in the responsibility department and distribute this feedback for my team. So we are going to enhance in the next time. In next to evaluating the teams and giving the grading and of course the quizzes and assignment stuff, right?
Okay, so yes, but I want to just make sure that we're on the same page. One thing you said was the feedback portion for the understanding team is not only for the responsibility department, it is for everyone. And so they will need to meet with your department and know what your learning outcomes are in order to do that. So for example, no one likes to just get a score. If we have an engagement and points are allotted, like in the past a quiz, and you get a score of a 7 out of 10, you want to know why you got that 7. You might be like, I don't understand. I thought I knew the material really well. Why do I have the 7? Or you might be like, wow, I'm really lucky I got a 7 because I just kind of guessed. Whatever your approach is to that, feedback is really important. So if that 7 out of 10 was received because the assignment was a multiple choice, 10 questions that were multiple choice, then the understanding department would go through and provide the feedback for what makes the answer correct and what makes the answer wrong. Or you would collaborate with them on what that would look like. If it was a written response and they received a 7 out of 10, the understanding department would lay out the success criteria of a 9-10 would be received if this happens. 7-8 would be received if this happened. And that would require, again, conversations with the responsibility department. So that feedback is specific to the work that's taking place. I also spoke to Noran that you need to rely on each other as departments and give feedback to what's going well. So, or what might have been missing. And to give you an example of this, I am the co-lead of a network for Universal Design for Learning in Higher Education. And I transitioned to that co-lead position in August of last year. And when we transitioned, we have someone who is in charge of marketing, and we have someone who's in charge of communications, and then we have the leaders. And we got ready for our first meeting. We had all of our content ready, and the meeting day occurred, and there were barely anybody there. And we were like, what's going on? Why is nobody showing up? Well, we had never met with the communication lead to assure that reminders and the meeting link went out to everyone. Okay, we totally missed it. We were in our zone of preparing the content and didn't talk to anyone else about making sure that the mailer went out and that social media had the information out to people. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about feedback and interactions between the departments, is we don't want to assume, right? We don't want to have this great content ready and not have anyone know how to access it, or not have anyone know what to do with it. And that's what you'll communicate amongst each other. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I have other 2 questions.
Yes, absolutely.
The first one is, the materials would be available for us chapter 10 till 14, or we shall prepare from scratch from the book?
Nope, not at all. You do not have to prepare from scratch unless you choose to. What's available to you? I'm looking for it. Hold on. And I will have the same available for the 15th of August, is when you go into the 1st of August file, you have chapter 9 and chapter 10. And inside each file, you have the presentation deck with the lecture, the PDF with the PowerPoint, the audio, and the closed caption.
Great.
Okay, and it's up to you though to decide what you want to use of that, if any, and how you want to use it. And then another note on that is, and it's entirely up to your department, is that even though it says your responsibility is the initial draft outline of the content, you can request the assistance of other people from other departments.
Okay.
Okay, so don't feel like this has to be only you or only a couple of people. It's for you to design. How that's developed and how it's delivered is entirely up to you as a department. And communicating that is going to mean meeting with the manager of the doing department and the understanding department so that they know what to expect and to communicate with their people. And they might, like the doing department might come up with an open line of communication where you can just reach out to everybody as you see fit, or they might have a protocol of it's better to have the managers reach out to the managers of the departments, and then that manager will assign people or meet with their associates and assistant manager or whatnot. So that's where the doing department is going to need to make sure they don't drop the ball. Does that help with
Yes,
that?
actually, yes.
Okay. Okay,
So,
very good.
so we will be responsible to delivering the content in the next session. For example, we are today the 1st of August, so our team will be responsible for giving a recap like Your Excellency was doing with us, and have the first 10 minutes recap about the content and if there is an engagement activity and this stuff.
If you choose to follow that same outline, you are more than welcome to follow the same outline that I've used in the past, and you have the access to those documents of how that was all coordinated. But if there is a different approach that your department wants to take, you can decide to do that.
Okay. Very
Okay.
clear. Clear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. And I think it's going to be really a great experience. It might not feel great in the moment sometimes, because there will be times where you guys are just like, whoa. But I think that there's real opportunity here, because what I've noticed so far this semester is like there are people who are incredibly organized and understand each assignment to the detail and articulate that super clearly. And there's an opportunity for other people to learn from those people. And there's an opportunity for those people to delegate and be able to, in a safe environment, practice their communication styles and their approaches to delegating and working on those elements of our personalities that we learned about ourselves in the Myers-Briggs and in the Johari window, and really having an opportunity to reflect on how you interact in an organization without it being your work organization. So I hope that you take this experience and whatever level of growth you want to take from it, you're able to do that. And if you want to send me a note or want some specific feedback for me to look for, just because I'm playing the role of CEO and kind of like stepping back doesn't mean I'm not going to be present. I won't overstep someone else's authority. But if there are things that you're working on that you are like, can you just kind of like give me some feedback after this first session on my presentation style or on the way that our points came together? I'm more than happy to do that. I won't do it in place of the understanding department, but I would do it in addition to for that more personalized approach to your learning. So don't feel like I'm going to abandon you in any way. I am totally going to be here whenever you decide we're going to be here. You have the 2.5 hours of our class session, and you might decide that it would be beneficial to split that time and do content for a certain amount of time, do content for half or do content for 3/4 of the time, and dedicate the other time to meet with different departments or to meet with your department people or to have work time. It is going to require communication within and across teams during the weeks between the sessions, but that layout of our 2.5 hour time frame is entirely up to you all. And if you as a department want me to meet with you or want to run something by me throughout the week, you know, that's totally okay. Managers do that with their CEOs. So know that you have the opportunity to have a simulation here of a complex organization. And it's also a safe environment for you to be able to grow in your application of organizational behavior studies for your workforce in the future. So any additional questions? Okay, so before we go into the assignments for each department that will take place on or before the 29th of July, I want to go ahead and set up your breakout groups. I was getting those set up before you all came in, but something about this platform doesn't allow me to assign if you're not in the room yet. So let me go ahead and put the responsibility team members into that. Yes.
I have one last question, please.
Oh, okay, absolutely.
Yes. Actually, at the doing team, there is a line that said that materials have to be added on Moodle no later than 6 days prior to the class session. So this means they have to take the materials from us very early, I guess. So we will not have too much time to prepare.
Okay. So what you can do, Nuran, is decide. So this is, I'm going to share my thinking behind that, and then I'm going to offer some flexibility in it. So my thinking behind that is the people who are receiving the materials for the session need to have time to be able to interact with the materials, unless you decide in your design that they can come and interact with the materials on that day. So the no later than 6 days, if you decided, let's play this scenario out. If you decided, Nuran, that you are going to use those front-loading materials that I have provided to everyone so that everyone has the chapter presentation deck and lecture prior to, then the doing department would upload those 6 days before. Like I try to do 24 hours so that people can adjust their schedules accordingly during the week and be prepared for class the next week. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have materials that you're going to use during the session, like your agenda or any learning engagements or any additional readings that we might do while we're together. That's that's for you to communicate with the doing department when you want that available to people or how you're going to make it available. You might decide to make it available as links in the chat box the day you meet. So if you decide you're going to use those materials, that's something that would be available 6 weeks before. But if you notice when we do like learning engagements and different things like this document, I did not provide 6 days before. I provided it when we met as a link in the chat box.
Okay.
Okay. Does that make sense? So if we need to word that differently to represent that after your department has a chance to meet, we can totally do that. And that's one of those things that you have the right to communicate with the doing department to assure that they aren't expecting something on a specific date, or that they are expecting something on a specific date. Does that help?
Yes, yes. And
Okay.
we can think of something like an assignment or something. This is we too plan for, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can plan for an assignment. It is difficult to be a quiz, of course, but nearly if I want to upload an assignment or something, I will give it to the doing team to communicate with the other students, of course.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead if anybody else has a question, I'm gonna go ahead and start assigning participants to their rooms. So that you guys can get a chance to talk this through in your groups and develop your organizational chart, complete your organizational chart. So I have Noran is going to be in responsibility team. And then I also have, going to move that up.
Sir, let me ask a question.
Absolutely.
Professor, where can I find this announcement in Moodle?
I'm sorry, I can't really hear you very well. Could you repeat that?
Professor, where can I find this handout? Now you share the slides.
The handout.
Moodle.
Okay, the handout that you see on the screen right now,
Yes.
that's a link in the chat box.
Professor, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, now I've got to find my. Any other questions? It looks like from the doing team, Judalyn is not here today. And what about Ahmed? EI is not here today. Okay, so I'm going to go on to. Oh, that's actually the understanding. Hold on. I just tagged that wrong. Sorry about that, guys. Doing is understanding. So Mansoor, Olia is understanding. And Doodling Amir. Is Amir out today as well? There's a lot of people out today and not a great day for them to miss. Okay, so then I need Rodas as the manager. Doing. And Sarah. Sorry about this, guys. One of the features I don't like about this is how it doesn't let me do it until you're here. Winnie and Co. Co here. Doing. Winnie here. Doing. Sarah Reyes would be unassigned. Okay. So I'm assigning you all to your groups. Why don't you take about, it's 11:06 my time. So take 25 minutes. I'll give you a reminder. And your goal is to meet with your department. For the understanding team, you'll need to really problem solve around your colleagues who are not here and how you're going to communicate to them. But what you can do, everyone can come back in the 25 minutes-ish and have the remainder of their organization chart completed, and then have any questions that came up within your group or thoughts that you want to run past me. And then we will talk a little bit more about moving forward. Just give me a shout out if you need me. Otherwise, your rooms are going to be open right now.
Hello.
Hello, Wellington. You need to be moved to your department?
Yes, ma. As soon as you share out to the group, I can hear them, but I cannot access them. They cannot hear me.
They can't hear you. Okay.
Yes, but I could hear them, and I cannot. My system automatically went blank. I could hear them.
Okay. Well, can you interact with them in the chat box then? Because I don't know how to handle any technical issues for the course.